Hey Faithful, welcome back to the Saloon presented by Cisco. I'm your 49ers team reporter, Briana Jeannel. I'm with Jesús and Carlos right after a tough road loss. The 49ers are 4-2. They're still on top of the NFC West. Guys, just initial reaction from the game. I know the biggest news coming out of this contest is that San Francisco suffered a major setback with the loss of team captain and all-pro linebacker Fred Warner, who fractured and dislocated his ankle. Obviously, not the news we want to hear, but the biggest news coming out of Sunday. Just thoughts and feelings coming out of this game with the loss of Fred.
It makes me really sad.
Yeah.
I feel like, and we talked about it before the season started. When you look at the game schedule, this was a game that I thought you could lose. You know, you're facing a team that has been very consistent. Right now, it's playing fantastically. You're on the road. You're in Florida. There's heat. There's humidity. It's all the way across the country. So it had all the elements that it's a game that you can lose. But losing the game is different from losing one of your biggest pieces. And it's not just losing Fred Warner, the player, it's what he means for the organization, what he means for the locker room, and also on the way that it happens. Because one thing is like, well, I have a hamstring injury, I'm going to be sidelined for 6-7 weeks because it's just a pull, compared to like it's very graphic. You get out on the cart, everybody runs into the field, like it's immediate because you see how like graphic the injury is, and that also plays a toll on the rest of your team, because you lose your leader, you lose basically your commander in chief in the defense, and then all of a sudden you know you're not gonna have him, and whether you want it or not, when you're playing, the first thing you're thinking is like, could that happen to me? And the moment that clicks on a player, you start losing concentration during the game. And I feel that was a little bit of what happened. And what makes me really sad is just like, you have a play. If there's a player that means consistency in the NFL, which is not easy to do, and especially when you play in defense, it's Fred Warner. Missing one game in 8 seasons is astronomically difficult. It just talks about the work that Fred does, the kind of player that he is, the kind of person that he is. So that's why it's a big hit, and that's what just makes you really sad about this loss.
Yeah, I totally agree with Carlos. It's devastating. I got the same feeling like the day when we lost Nick Bosa, because even then that day it was a victory Monday, right? They beat the Cardinals, but you still like felt really bad. It didn't feel that day like a victory Monday because you lost Nick Bosa, and now you lose Fred Warner. For those two guys, for Bosa, for Warner, I think there's no such thing as the next man up. You know, in the NFL, there's always this mentality, and you need to have it. You need to have the next man mentality, but I think that doesn't apply to Fred Warner or to Nick Bosa. We're talking about future Hall of Famers here, guys that are all pros on the field and off the field. I mean, in the case of Fred Warner, we see it like every week, like on Wednesdays when he speaks to the media. He's always very professional on the field, off the field, and you're gonna miss everything about him, his talent, his leadership. So it's something really devastating. But I mean, that's the NFL. I mean, that's the reality, and I'm very sure that knowing how Fred Warner is, the great speeches he always giving to his teammates during the game, before the game, I'm pretty sure he wants his defense to keep going, to keep grinding.
Speaking of those speeches, Fred Warner even gave a post-game locker room speech right after that Bucs game, and no one asked him to do it. He did it out of his own heart, and Kyle Shanahan highlighted that fact, showing that that's his character, his connection with his teammates, and just how much of a captain he is of this team. And like you said, Jesús, there's no replacing Nick Bosa, there's no replacing Fred Warner, but the question that we're all dealing with now is, where do we go from here? From your guys' perspective, how does the 49ers defense work to move forward for the rest of the season without a Bosa, without a Fred Warner?
Oh, we were just talking about that. I think this is Robert Saleh's biggest challenge ever, even more so than being a head coach of the New York Jets. And the only reason why I mentioned that is that he kind of was in a similar situation in 2020, that year of the pandemic, when he lost Nick Bosa too, and there was a lot of injuries in the team in general. But he didn't lose Fred Warner that one time. And you still had that commander-in-chief in the defense that was able to organize. And there was, even if there was the next man up mentality, and you have this guy that is here, Fred was able to accompany him. And Fred was able to put him in a position where he could do things the right way. Now you don't have both. And that's going to be really tough for Saleh. And I feel like it comes down to him. Somebody needs to step up to be the next like big captain there, which I feel like in this case I don't know how it's going to be. Again, like this is just me speculating, but I feel like the next man up for that job is Dimo Lenoir. I think he's the one that, being one of the most prominent players in the defense, he's the one that needs to step up and kind of become the captain of the defense. He plays in that position in the secondary when he can see things and he can organize and he can help out his teammates. So he needs to have that player. But the difference is that a lot of it has to come from the defensive coordinating team. Because now, before you could rely on these guys, right? Like you could rely on Nick, but you could rely on Fred because he was basically having like an extra coordinator, an extra coach inside the field. Now you don't have that, so you have to coach a little more from the outside, especially because you have so many young players. But that's how you got to do it. You got to find new roles, new ways of doing things, knowing that some things you get comfortable, right? Like when you have some player like Fred Warner, I'm like, do I really need to cover the center of the field? No, I don't, because Fred will just see it. I don't have to plan for that because I know I have that player that will do that for me. Now you actually need to cover for that. It's like, how am I going to put my linebacker in the middle of the field so they don't make that throw on the second level? Or how am I going to make the one of the linebackers, whether it's the Sam or the Will, or if you're only playing with two, to go to the flat and cover that? But you actually need to account for it. Before you didn't have to because Fred will get you. It was like he will take D. Winters to go over there, and he will go back there himself. He'll plug the hole on the A-gap. Like he could do those things by himself. Now you actually need to prepare for it.
Yeah, it'd be a collective effort. It's not just one guy, even though like the guy that literally replaces Fred Warner on Sunday, it was Tatum Bethune, and he ended up leading the team in sacks with 10
tackles.
In tackles.
I wish it was in sacks.
Yeah, it was in tackles, career high in tackles. This is the first time that he reaches 10 tackles in his career for Tatum Bethune. And he's a guy that obviously is not the same thing in preseason, but I like him during the preseason games. I like how Tatum Bethune is progressing, but it's not the same thing in the regular season. And Kyle Shanahan, I think, is playing it really well on Monday. He says he's gonna have to fill in for that Mike position, linebacker position, and he's like, and Shanahan said he's like that position is like the quarterback of the defense. So it's a huge challenge for Tatum Bethune, but again, it's not going to be just Bethune. This needs to be by committee, a collective effort to make the defense play at least decently. Because now, without those guys, Bosa, Warner, we're not expecting like the 49ers defense to be top 10, but at least play decent football. So you give your offense a chance, because on the offensive side of the ball, you still have a lot of stars. Once you get, obviously, he said maybe you're getting Kittle back this week, so you got McCaffrey already in there. You got Trent Williams, so you got on the offensive side of the ball, you got future Hall of Famers still. You still have big names over there. So the defense just needs to at least play decent football, not allow like every game, like I don't know, more than 25 points per game, to give the offense a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunate circumstances we're dealing with here, with a lot of players down, but still a lot of bright spots on that defense, like Tatum Bethune really answering the call. Kyle Shanahan gave him a ton of praise on Monday because he was just thrown in there when Fred was down, and so he answered the call well. Again, on offense, there's a lot of growth still to be had. We had our first rushing touchdown in week 6, and so looking forward to seeing just more from that run game, more from potentially George Kittle in week 7, so still a lot to see. Again, we've got a few more injury updates from Kyle Shanahan in that Monday call. I'll read them off the list here. Thankfully, it was no more added to the list from the game following, Fred Warner's injury. It was just his, but a few more updates. Wide receiver Jordan Watkins dealing with that calf injury. He's expected to return to practice this week. Wide receiver Ricky Pearsall still dealing with that knee injury. He's still being evaluated. The team will check for his status on Wednesday's practice. Quarterback Brock Purdy's dealing with that toe injury, and he's still being evaluated, same as Ricky Pearsall, checking in on him on Wednesday. Defensive lineman Yetur Gross-Matos has a hamstring injury. He's continuing to rehab. Defensive lineman Kevin Givens, who is dealing with a pec injury, and he was out from the beginning of the season. He's still practicing and will continue to practice since his practice window was opened. Tight end George Kittle, here's some good news. Dealing with that hamstring injury, but he's expected to return to practice this week. Potentially, Kyle Shanahan said they hope to see him in this game on Sunday. Nothing is an expectation for playing time on Sunday, but still a hope there. And wide receiver Brandon Ayuk dealing with that knee injury. There's no time frame, so no exact date we could exactly be looking towards, but he's trending positively in rehab. So a few updates there. We're definitely going to see a lot more on Wednesday. Who's back out on the field, who's, looking better and progressing in their rehab. But another point in Kyle Shanahan's call is that he really doesn't want us to get focused on the past. This is immediate. And the injury like Fred Warner is really one that we're going to have to game plan for now looking into week 7. But you have to think about what we've already accomplished. The 49ers are 4-2. They're still on top of the division, and guys have to keep getting better. What do you want to see from this 49ers team as they game plan this week on Sunday Night Football in week 7? Who are you expecting to really rise to the occasion here?
Well, I mean, I think the one of the key points, and we still don't know, it's if George Kittle comes back, right? Like, if George Kittle is back, it's a huge weapon. Now you can actually run those like double tight end packages because I trust completely on Jay Tonjes for those plays. So if you can have them on both sides, knowing you have McCaffrey and maybe even Juszczyk back there, the defense is going to be confused because like this is a run play, right? Like they have 2 tight ends, they have two running backs. Like this is 22 personnel, this is a run. And then all of a sudden you lift either or. Like George can actually help you block on that play and you actually let Jay go free. And all of a sudden you have a big play. So I'm really excited about that. I feel if George comes back, it helps a lot with the playbook. To me, the one thing that it's like, I think at this point is a really big focus, and it comes and it's kind of stems from this last game against the Buccaneers is the play on the offensive line. They have to be able to protect the quarterback a little more. I was telling Jesús, if I see Mac Jones in Levi's today, I start gonna go give him a hug because he has to be so sore.
Yeah,
because he got hit 10 times, he got sacked 6 times. You have to be more consistent there. Because the more consistency there is what's going to allow your offense to be, progressively better. Another one of the things that I thought it was really funny is that at the beginning of the season, we have all this talk about, like, what are the Niners going to do with their wide receivers? I think the wide receiver room is actually one of the deepest one in the league right now. Like, you have the Marcus Robinson, who's playing fantastically. You have Kendrick Bourne playing really well. You have Jake Tonjes taking passes. And you have Juwan Jennings collaborating when he can. And that's still without Ricky, without Brandon, without Watkins. There's a lot of there's a lot of talent in that room. And it was a big talking point at the beginning of the season. Right now, it's actually one of the most solid things. So
I'd argue that Christian McCaffrey should be put in that receiver room since his breaking NFL records as a running back, playing as a receiver in this offense. There's just a lot to be seen on the offensive side.
Yeah, definitely. And again, and then on the defense, and I like Jesús is very defensive minded, so I let the defense to Jesús. But the defense also needs to, it's just like how we're gonna do this collectively because that's what they need, and especially planning for Bijan Jones. Robinson. Yeah, Robinson.
Jesus, how would you game plan if you're looking at this defense for the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday?
Yeah, it's a scary defense. They actually leading the NFL because they're like the only defense right now in the whole NFL that they haven't allowed an offense to go for more than 300 total yards. So they're a very good defense, even though they're a young defense, but they spend a lot of money on that pass rush. Remember, they sack Josh Allen 4 times on Monday night.
It's something not easy to do.
So they do it like collectively. It's not just one guy. So the Atlanta Falcons have a really good defense, and the 49ers really need to, even though they haven't so far, but they really need to establish the run. They need to do it. Carlos was mentioning the offensive line, and specifically the interior of the offensive line. They need to be more consistent because that's why Christian McCaffrey so far has not been able to reach 100 yards on the ground. He got his first rushing TD of the season against the Buccaneers, but they definitely need to establish the running game. And since it's Christian McCaffrey, we're talking about a really special player. He even trained during the offseason with Bijan Robinson. Now they're gonna face each other, right, in prime time. But he's been able to get his yards other ways, like through being like a wide receiver, like you mentioned.
As a wide receiver.
And he's reaching all kinds of new marks in his career. So yeah, but you definitely need to establish the run against this Falcons team because that's also a way to be more balanced because I think it's not sustainable to keep throwing the ball like 40 times per game. Your quarterback's going to get hurt. You're more exposed to throw interceptions, to turn the ball over. So you have to establish the running game.
Yeah, that's the Niners' bread and butter, so I'm
Yeah.
excited to see if it gets moving this Sunday against the Falcons. Now, another bright spot from this game, even though it was a really challenging one, is that we saw safety Malik Mustapha come back. It was his first game back. He logged 21 defensive snaps in his first game back. What did you see from him, Jesus? I know you've got that defensive mind, so him coming back at safety, what were some highlights from you?
Yeah, Malik Mustapha only played like 21 snaps, so that's normal because he's just coming off from his injury. But I saw the same guy, an aggressive guy. I remember Dimo Lenore before the game against the Bucs. He says he's like our human bullet out there. And yeah, when you see Malik Mustapha play, I mean, he inspires the rest of his teammates with the way he plays. He's a violent safety. He goes after the ball. And I think once he starts like feeling like 100% physically, especially like the conditioning part, right? Because coming off a tough injury like his, he's going to be getting his way back into the starting lineup. But once he's there, I think that's one of the ways to do it. With a guy like Malik Mustapha, you mentioned earlier, the Amador Lenore, you got guys with experience, even though Malik Mustapha, in the case of him, he's just in his second year. But it was very impressive what he did last year when he grabbed that starting role, and he never let it go. So that tells you that you have a special player in Malik Mustapha.
While we're looking at the defense, a lot of tackles for loss in this game, which was really helpful, especially with missing Nick Bosa, missing Fred Warner, tackles for loss from Upton Stout, Marquis Siegel, Bryce Huff, and Diomar Lenore. Also, a first career sack from Mykel Williams. Carlos, how happy were you to see that first-round pick finally get in the pocket, get that quarterback down, and not just first sack in the NFL?
I feel it's more of a confidence thing than anything else because I feel Mykel has been playing very well. And a crazy stat that Jesús shared with me is that Mykel is the second player with the most double teams in the league the whole season behind Myles Garrett. And look the name that he has in front of him. I mean, this is a guy also that's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame at one point because Myles Garrett is just absolutely insane. So you have to account for Mykel. You have to put people on him. And I feel that it just gives you the confidence, right? Like I'm turning to that player that I want to be. He also deflected a pass or touch a pass that ended up being an incompletion. That was a big play in the game. So I feel you see him growing right into himself. It's unfortunate that he doesn't have Nick next to him because I feel like that it kind of speeds up the process, especially because you open gaps for him. That will also open gaps for you. Or even if you're both covered, then that's when Bryce Huff was like literally flying in. So that's one of the things that you have to work with it. But I feel like in terms of confidence, just for Mykel was like that's it. Like this is where I came to do. This is something that he had been growing into, right? Like he's not known to be that pass rusher that is a sack player. He's very good in the running game. He contains, he puts pressures, but he has all the potential to do it because he's a great athlete. So the fact that he did it, I just feel like it was one of those things. Like, all right, now his confidence is gonna go up because he's gonna get that feeling of like, okay, I can do it. I can push this guy and put him forward, push him behind, and then go get the quarterback. So it was great to see. And what you mentioned, the tackles for loss were very important because he kept the game very competitive. I mean, again, the team lost, but if you really look at it, with all the absences, like this is a team that has 25 injuries. Like is the most injured team in the whole NFL, and you kept one of the teams that is today 5-1 with a guy that is on the contention to be MVP of the league within one possession all the way to the third quarter with all the losses and all the stars that you've been like not having on the field. So to me, it's kind of proof like, and again, this is not like tooting our own horn, but it shows that the team is very deep. Like when you think about it, and I always put the perfect examples, like the perfect examples, like when you see the Cincinnati Bengals, like how their season is going, they lose Joe Burrow and that's it. Like it's been tough for them to come from that. The Niners haven't had that problem. They're still leading the division. They're still with a positive record. They keep games competitive. They beat the team that they were not supposed to beat, even with all the absences. So to me, that makes you feel like, okay, there's a very deep team here. And when things start coming back together, or if they start coming back together, you could still be a contender.
Yeah, in a way, that's what gives you hope. Obviously, you just started the season 4-2 and 3-0 in your division. That's big. That's big when you're talking about playoffs and all that kind of stuff. And also the schedule, right? In the remaining schedule, the Falcons are one of 4 teams remaining in the schedule that have winning records. So maybe there's a way to get more wins. But a game at a time, like even the players mentioned it. And in the case of Mykel Williams, yes, it's very impressive that people are double teaming him. He's just a rookie, and that tells you that he's gonna be very, very special. And yeah, it's very frustrating that now you don't have Nick Bosa to take advantage of that, because when you have both on the field, obviously you have to double team Bosa, you have to double team Mykel, and that's where Bryce Huff gets those one-on-ones and gets those sacks, right? So, but you don't have that, but it's still impressive what Mykel Williams is doing. And also, going back to the linebacker position, we haven't even mentioned Nick Martin. He has been inactive the first 6 games. So I'm really interested to see if at one point he's able to get on the field and see what we have in Nick Martin, because I think during the preseason he made some really nice game, nice plays. Again, we know preseason is not the same thing, but he's a rookie with a huge potential. So at one point, I'm also very interested to see what we have in Nick Martin.
Yeah, impressive to see, especially like you mentioned the preseason. I think he was the highlight of this year's preseason. So I'm excited to see how he maybe gets into the fold here with the regular season, working with maybe the starters and trying to get in where he fits in. And what you mentioned about Mykel Williams getting double teamed, I think just his size, his strength, his speed is valid for that. But like we said, him getting that first career sack must be huge for him. And I'm excited to see his confidence grow throughout the season. Now, let's talk a little bit about the offense. Carlos, you mentioned how there is a lot of stars with this wide receiver room, but I want to talk about and highlight that connection between Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne. We're not sure who exactly is going to be under center against the Falcons in Sunday Night Football, but Mac Jones has been impressive in his starts so far, and his connection with Kendrick Bourne is very clear. I think it really popped off in Thursday Night Football when Kendrick had his career high day, but I don't want that to get unnoticed in Week 6. Also, he also, hit 142 yards, had an average of 28.4 yards in his receptions. So just what you've seen from their chemistry there, going all the way back from the Patriots.
And I think that's been the key. And that's one of the reasons I feel like they actually went and got Kendrick Bourne. And let's remember, Kendrick left. Kendrick was already contributing to this team a lot, but Kendrick left because he went to go to be the wide receiver 1 precisely for the New England Patriots. That's the only reason why he left. Otherwise, I feel like he would have stayed in this offense because he's been contributing a lot. And having a player that you already play with a full season or with a regular season, you were the main weapon over there. Obviously that translates, right? And they're being able to capitalize on it in different ways. Unfortunately, again, once we get to one of the things that we need to be better at, is once they get in the red zone, you got to make it count. But just in open play, I feel like what Kendrick is doing is just showing how good of a player he is. He might not have the biggest reflectors that maybe other wide receivers on the league. I feel like in a sense it's very similar to what happened with DeMarcus Robinson, even when he was in the Rams, right? DeMarcus Robinson was very good with the Rams. He's been here. It just happened this week. He dropped a pass that seemed pretty easy, and then he goes and breaks for a 31-yard reception. So it just shows you the kind of players they have. You have these players that are very secure, that they can contribute to the team, and that's what you want, right? Sometimes because you can't have full superstars, everybody would love to have free range of spending and just get every single superstar there's on the league on your team. You can't do that, right? That's the beauty of the NFL.
Turn the cap off in a video game.
Right. Right. You turn the cap off and then you go get Jamar Chase. You can't do that. So when you look at how the Niners build, you find these players, right? The heart they have, the character they have, how they actually respond to bad situations. Kendrick had a really, I'm not gonna say a bad game, but not a fantastic game against the Jags, dropping some passes, and then he's got 2 career high games right after that. It was this is unacceptable on my part because I let Brock Purdy down, so now I'm gonna come and make it count, and he's been helping the team. So it definitely doesn't have to go. It doesn't go unnoticed, but it makes you feel it makes you feel so much better because you're wait, we're doing that, and Ricky's still not on the field, Brandon's still not on the field, Kittle's still not on the field. Dude, it's hard to cover this team once everybody gets back, and that's a positive there.
Yeah, Carlos, and we also saw those redemption catches in this very own game against the Buccaneers in Week 6. We saw a redemption catch from DeMarcus Robinson. Mm-hmm. It didn't go successful in one play. The next play, boom, he's got it. Same with Kendrick Bourne. So it's really exciting to see how it doesn't only translate from game over game, but literally play after play. Mm-hmm. We're seeing the mental game really develop in these guys. Now, Jesus, what did you see from that connection between Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne while you're doing the play-by-play of the game. Can you see how Mac is probably making his reads down the offense?
Yeah, definitely. I think that there's really good chemistry, obviously, from their Patriots. They even mentioned it like the first day that Kendrick Bourne got to the building. He was like, "Oh yeah, it's really amazing to play again with Mac Jones." So. We talk a lot about chemistry, and you can really see it between Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne. And when Kendrick had that tough day against the Jaguars with those 3 drops, Mac Jones was the guy that went and talked to Kendrick and said, "Hey, it's okay, come on." He gave him like a pep talk, right? So,
and the same thing happened against the Rams. He dropped that first pass, and he literally goes hug him, like talk to him, and next thing you know, he's like 124 yards.
Yeah, so I think that's huge when you have a guy that can talk to you. You have that trust in him because it's not just on the field, but off the field. In case you make a mistake or something, you're able to talk to him, give him some tips, some encouragement. So I think that's huge, and so far that's why Kendrick Bourne has been playing really, really well. I mean, and he also knew the system, even though Kyle Shanahan said when they asked him, "Hey, how it helps that Kendrick Bourne used to be here back in 2017, 2019," and he said, "Well, we changed a lot of things since then, but I think it still helps to have like that familiarity with at least with the guys like with Kyle Shanahan, the head coach, and different coaches around the building. So that also helps. But yeah, going back to Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne is definitely a great connection there, and you really need it because just think about it. Where will the 49ers be if we didn't have a Mac Jones, a Kendrick Bourne, even an Eddy Piñeiro, who's also being really good with his field goals, at Tanges. So we have different guys like stepping up to the occasion, and that's why the 49ers still have a chance. They're still 4-2, and now it's getting tougher with those injuries, but I think there's still hope and a way to do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then to just round out that comment, also the fact that Kyle has been trusting these guys, because after you drop a couple of passes, they might not go to you. And literally every single time it's been like, okay, you drop a pass, here it goes again. Now make it count. And he makes it count. So it's a little bit of everything between the player responding to the occasion and the fact that Kyle has a trust of like going straight to them again.
Definitely. And Jesus, you said his name. Our guy, Eddy Piñeiro. We can't talk about this being a competitive game without giving him his recognition. He made field goal attempts on 52, 54, 42, and 29 yards, made all of them. He now also became the first 49ers kicker to register 4 or more field goals in consecutive games since Robbie Gould in 2017, who's also a faithful favorite. Just what have you seen from Eddy Piñeiro, how he came in with such confidence and is just nailing it and is really reliable when it comes to the offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it right there, confidence. And because remember how he started with the 49ers that day against the Saints. He missed that extra point, but he kept that confidence. And after that, he hasn't missed any extra point, any field goal attempt. In fact, he already tied Robbie Gould because Robbie Gould back in 2017 when he started his career with the 49ers, he scored his first 15 field goal attempts, and now Eddy Piñeiro just tied that. He's also he has scored his 15 field goal attempts. So that just tells you about the confidence that Eddy Piñeiro has, and also I like that he has like that swagger. Remember on that game against the Cardinals when he hit that field goal, that game winner against the Cardinals, and he went and screamed something to the Cardinals bench, and then it was like a funny moment because I remember that week, the week after that game against the Cardinals, they asked Kyle Shanahan about it, the media, and he said, "Yeah, I'm okay with it as long as he doesn't get like a penalty." Right. But I went and talked to him, and he told me, "Hey, coach, they're a division rival." So I like that. Eddy Piñeiro has like that passion, that swagger. I like that from him.
You think that passion is carrying over to the offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, that's a Miami swagger from Eddy. I have a quick story about Eddy. Actually, Eddy, a lot of people I don't know. Eddy played soccer in high school for Miami Sunset, which is one of the best high schools in the nation. They're ranked like number 1 in the nation for years at the beginning of the 2000s. I coached against Eddy Piñeiro when he was playing soccer. We faced each other on a championship final. And Eddy was a fantastic forward, but you could see that fire. He carries that fire. I don't know if that throwing in a little bit of like Hispanic background, like kind of just like chips into that. But he's been very consistent. He actually just passed Justin Tucker's completion percentage, which is not something easy to do. I mean, Justin Tucker was one of the most like consistent kickers in the whole league. So the fact that he's able to put those numbers just shows you like sometimes when you're in different situations, like when you get to a good situation, he also broke his own record on his longest field goal. He had
59.
He had never kicked more than 53. He kicks a 59-yarder. Shanahan said like it was out of his range, but he said like, listen, let's try it. Let's see what happens. And then what he did is like, oh, now we can trust him because like now we can do it because he can hit a 59-yarder like no problem. So I feel a lot of those things carry from his upbringing, from how fired up he was like from playing that different sport because he picked up the football like later in his life. And it's just being a great addition for the team because you needed that consistency, right? And you got that feeling like, okay, well, it keeps like I'm saying, it keeps you tight, like keeps you there, and that kind of swagger, I feel like it's something that a lot of the players have. Like that's one of the main reasons why it's so hard to lose Fred Warner because he's like. Him and Kittle are the guys for that in this team. So to be able to add another piece that can give you a little bit of that is always positive.
Yeah, he's such a special fit in this locker room. So round of applause for Eddy P for making so many records, breaking his own records.
Pineiro.
I love it. Now, we watched the Falcons in Monday Night Football last night. We're recording this on Tuesday. What have you seen from them, and what are your initial thoughts on this matchup for Sunday Night Football? They're going back-to-back primetime, so this is going to be a big game for us.
Yeah, definitely. The Falcons look scary. I mean, on both sides of the ball, because on the offensive side of the ball, they're very balanced. I mean, you saw like with the quarterback Mykel Penix, he was able to throw for 230 yards, and then you have Robinson on the running back, who's one of the best running backs in the NFL. Right now, he and Christian McCaffrey are the only guys that each game they have at least 100 games from scrimmage. So he's also Robinson is also a very special player, and you have to find a way to make the Falcons one-dimensional because that's how they get the victories. That they beat the Commanders before the Bills. Now they beat the Bills, so they're looking good. I mean, they're coming to Levi Stadium with a 3-2 record. Like I said earlier, they have a young defense who's playing also really really well. And going back to the offense, they have a good wide receiver also in Drake London. They also the tight end Pitts. So they have pieces around that can hurt you. So you have to be on top of your game against this team if you want to get the victory.
And especially because I think that what this Monday Night Football showed is kind of like, regardless whether it was an off game for the Bills, which might have been, or at least to me it was kind of like that, you can have an off game, right? Like this is a perfect example of what the NFL looks like. It's like, hey, listen, the Bills are on paper, they were the better team, and then look at how they play, and look what the Falcons were able to do. I feel like when you prepare for these matches, you need to go and look to what that team looked like when they were at their best, and then when they were not doing well, what was the things that were not making it do well, and attack those things. Because again, there's no perfect team. There's always some things that you can go tackle. It's like, this team suffers here and he suffers there. How can I attack those things? For example, in the case of Mykel Penix Jr., obviously he's growing. He was a rookie last year. This is his second season. What were the things that made Mykel Penix Jr. not be as effective last year? How can we
make him beat you, right? Make a Mykel Penix beat you, not rely to
right.
Find a way to make that way,
right.
Make him
or make them like, okay, make sure that the only person that is getting the ball is Bijan Robinson, but we're ready for that, right?
Yeah.
Like. They're gonna go to him. We know they're gonna go to him. All right, go to him, but it's gonna be 5 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards, and then all of a sudden you're in 3 and 4 and they're out. That's what you need to try to replicate. Obviously, it's easier said than done, but that's what when you're planning for that's where you need to go and tackle. And it's just crazy. Like again, like how things change so quickly because the same. If you asked anyone last week before this match or even before the Commanders game. And after they lost
30-0 to the Panthers. So hopefully they play that way.
So again, so that's what I'm saying. Like when you have an off game and you see that Atlanta team lose 30-0 to the Panthers, you're like, all right, like this is the team we're gonna face. And then all of a sudden they come and have this big win, and you're like, all right, now it's even more dangerous because what team are we gonna see? because you cannot go in confident that they're going to look like the Panthers, and you can also be so scared that they're going to look like the team against the Bills. You need to be able to find them a way to, like, how can I replicate them playing like this, like they play with the Panthers, and how can I be ready for them to play like they play with the Bills, but also look at the mistakes of the other teams and be like, okay, I don't want to do that, because that's obviously what opened the door for them to do what they were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you, Carlos, because I feel like the NFL is so competitive in the world of sports. I think one of the most competitive in the world of sports. But this season in particular,
yes,
you never know who is going to win. Any team can beat you, no matter their record, no matter if it's a short week, extra rest. It does not matter. Any team can take it home in any game. So this season is extra spicy. But Carlos, Jesus, a lot to look for in Sunday Night Football this week. Thank you so much for joining me on the Saloon today.
Of course.
It's a pleasure.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And remember that you can catch the game in Spanish with Jesús and I on, if you're in Mexico, on W Deportes and W Radio, and of course on the app for the 49ers. And you can go 49ers.com/ESP for all the content in Spanish.
Exactly. Jesus, Carlos, thank you so much for covering the team, being inside and out on everything that's going on. That was my conversation with Jesus and Carlos, but now it's time to turn the page to Week 7 as the Atlanta Falcons are coming into town. I'm taking you into the locker room now to see how the 49ers are preparing for their Sunday Night Football matchup.
Christian, what would it be like to have George back on the field today?
It'd be great. I think his presence is felt in every aspect of the game, and his energy is so great. So it'll be great to have him back out there.
What's it like training with Jeannel this offseason? Just watching the way his game is developing. What do you see?
It's amazing, man. I think when you see it in person, you realize why he is who he is. You can go on about how great of a player he is, but I think just watching what kind of man he is and the kind of character that he has is something that I respect so much about him. He's a great man of faith, great leader. Does it the right way, and I have the utmost respect for him.
Do you see some of your game in his game?
I hope so. That's a huge compliment. I watch him move, watch him make a lot of these plays, and it's inspiring. So he's definitely somebody that when you watch him play, any chance you get, you can try to emulate some of the stuff he does.
I think after Bosa got hurt, you were asked, does the offense need to step up and fill the void? And you said, well, it's not like we're not trying to always score as many points as we can. But how do you keep from not pressing to do that, making sure that everybody's staying on focus and doing that job?
Just taking it one play at a time. Each play has a life of its own, and respecting that play and doing whatever needs to be done on that play, and having a lot of mental resilience and mental stamina throughout an entire game.
Is there ever conversations amongst the offense like, hey, there's even more shoes to fill now with Fred and Bosa gone, and the defense is going to have a little harder time at this point?
No, those conversations are, that stuff goes without saying. When you lose guys like that, it's, stepping up is, you got to step up. I don't think that means change anything. It just means be on your P's and Q's as much as humanly possible. But that's every day. So, it's obviously a huge blow losing those guys, but hopefully we can emulate their leadership, emulate the standard in which they play, and I think I'm excited about these young guys coming up because they have one of the best leaders in the world in Fred, and so they've been watching him do it, and to see them and watch them get an opportunity to do that would be exciting.
Christian, on Sunday you had a run to the right side where I think you just got clipped at the cleats and just slammed the ball to the ground. It looked like it could have been 70-yard touchdown or something. I guess obviously that's frustrating, but I'm sure that's not the only type of moment like that this year. Does stuff like that give you optimism that, as you say, you're close, the running game is close?
Yeah, I just got to make it happen.
Can you quantify just what it was like seeing George back in a walkthrough earlier and how much uplifting it is?
That's awesome, man. As I alluded to earlier, he's not just so great as a player, but his energy, his leadership on the field means a whole lot to this team. So we can't wait to get him back.
When you've practiced against Tatum Bethune and D. Winters, what have you seen from them?
They run and hit. They have a high standard. They play the right way, and like I said, they've been watching the best do it. So I can't wait to see them.
Are you targeting like 142 at this point? What's up with the number?
Man, I don't know. God's doing something, man. He's working through me, but just working, being prepared. Good things happen, when you prepare. Shout out to the guys. It's not only me. It's a collective group thing, and I'm just trying to help the team, man. And it's kind of just been happening.
Going through these wins, they've all
all been pretty close.
Yeah.
Just wondering, now that the defense has taken such a hit with both Nick Bosa and Fred Warner out, amongst the offense, is there any extra added pressure to put more points on the board to solidify more wins this season and not kind of rely on the defense to kind of win at the end?
Yeah, it's a good question. As offense, we want to, offensive minds, like having an offensive-minded coach, we want to lead the team. Like, we're always competing with the defense in a good way, like we want to be the leaders of the team. And once you're competing like that, you're going to play good as a collective group. So, yeah, we want to put up points. We want to do the right things. And, it's more pressure now. Like, it always is, but now we got to, keep carrying our workload and doing what we need to do to just help the team win.
Well, speaking of that, you and Mac Jones seemingly have quite the synergy out there on the field. So between you guys, have there been any extra conversation of like things that we're doing this well, we need to do this a little bit better?
Yeah, me and Mac, we always meet, things like that. He tells me all the time, we texting, talking to each other, watching film and stuff like that. It's important. He knows where I'm going to be. I know where he wants me to be, things like that. So just keep growing, while we're in this position right now. And it's showing. So all the little things, they add up.
KP, this team, you, Mac, Tonjes, the defensive line have already had to step up. Guys that maybe didn't think they were going to be in the position they were going to be in have done that. With Fred now going out, what do you expect from Tatum? And what does it say about your team that you guys have been ready?
Yeah. Tatum, that's it's a big shoes to fill, but it's the opportunity, man. Just you think about injuries, you think about how people get created, how people get their chance, and it's usually how it goes in the league. Fred playing at a high level, so many starting snaps, a lot of film on him, so he can watch a lot of things that he can learn from, and he's been around them, so that's going to be huge. But everybody else, just the same thing, taking advantage of the op. Like, you never know when it's going to present itself, and the question is, are you ready? So it'll show itself. It'll show on film. It'll show how you moving, how fast you reacting, and things like that. So I'm excited for him, though. It's going to be good for him. It usually happens to the ones that are ready.
How much more comfortable do you feel in this offense now than when you first came back?
Yeah. In the beginning, it was tough. But just getting comfortable. I know the movements. I know, my body knows how to move within the offense. So new terms. I didn't know Clay Kubiak before I got here. So learning Clay, how he operates and things too, was dope to learn. We've built a good relationship so far, and it's been fun. So new terminology, new words. But the body movements were pretty similar, so my body transitioned good.
Were you being asked to block this much when you were in New England? I know that.
That's a great question. That's a great question. Yeah, so actually not. So I want to block better too, man. There's so many clips on the film, everybody look at the 142 like this. No, I'm just kidding. But like, it's bigger stuff than that too. I want to block better. There's plays to be made. There's more stuff out there that I can do better to like spring CMC and things like that. So I'll be just looking at those ones like, okay, how can I apply that better? But definitely didn't block as much in New England as I do here. It's a better system though to like with the run game. It's a different system. So I gotta apply different styles, just different angles towards the safeties and things like that. So working on that as I'm growing within the scheme again, and it's been fun. But that's a challenge for me, and I'm gonna take it head on.
By missing kicks. That's how you build it up. By missing game winners and missing important kicks and just creating a foundation. And, at the end of the day, we're not going to be perfect. And I'm enjoying the ride right now. So let's see where everybody's at when I'm not doing well. So let's see.
What's different about this team than other teams you play?
Yeah, my teammates here are amazing. And like I said, there's so many block kicks going around in the NFL right now. And these guys are just really working their butt off, to help me succeed, and the organization's been amazing, and just the support here has been awesome, and it really helps having a good snapper and a good holder here. So
when it comes to something like the 59-yarder career high, is this thing you visualize ahead of time a little bit, or is it just something?
Absolutely, yeah. Just having confidence, knowing that you can make the kick, and knowing there's 2 minutes left. If you don't make this kick, you're going to give the other team good field position, and these are things going through my head as well. Just how important this kick is.
You kicked 77 yards in practice once. 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Is that still in the foot?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I had a hurricane wind behind me at that time. So maybe we can get a windy game one day and hopefully try it out. That'd be great.
When we see a lower trajectory in your kick, is that intentional, or is that just the way it comes on?
You think it's a low kick?
Well, if it's not, it doesn't have the same. If it's like a little bit more of a line drive as opposed to.
I don't think I hit any low kicks. I think I hit a pretty decent. I think I have pretty decent height for sure.
You flash back to the 10 years ago or so when you were doing the 5 a.m. workouts with me. What was? Yeah, I mean, you ever think back to like how far you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my dad was a professional soccer player. My goal was to be better than him, and that never happens. But thank God this worked out for me, and I'm able to support my family doing it.
So they're not missing kicks. Is it just internal conversations you have with yourself after, or is there somebody else you lean on, or how does that actually kind of come out?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's yourself. I mean, you gotta just be positive, and it's kind of just like tennis, you know. Like we're kind of in our own little world in our head, and you know, we're away from everybody, and yeah.
So there was nobody that you like leaned on that you called back and missing kicks or anything? Or?
Well, my dad. Oh, you're asking who I lean on? Absolutely, my dad. Absolutely. I mean, my dad, like I said, he was a professional soccer player. He's missed penalty kicks. He's made penalty kicks, and he's helped his team win. He's been the reason why they've lost, and my dad's just really helped me through this whole process.
Does he still help you?
Absolutely. Yeah, we talk every single day. I mean, I bought him a house 2 houses down from mine, so I got to keep him close. That's the only guy I have left in this world. So.
What does he tell you? What kind of stuff will he?
Yeah, just motivational stuff, like how far we've come, and not to forget where we came from, and things like that. Sometimes you get caught up into it, and you just forget where you came from. Sometimes, so it just keeps me humble, keeps me on my feet, and just reminds me, you got to keep working every single day, and you're up one day and you're down another day. So you're not as good as you say you are, and you're not as bad as they say you are. So.
Is he still
That's
working?
what he's always told me.
Is he still working?
No, he's retired. My dad will never work a day in his life again. So.
Why is that?
Yeah, because he's done everything for me. He's been there for me. He's worked his whole life to give us the best life. So now it's time that I give him the best life.
So you retired?
Yeah, absolutely. Retired him 2 years ago.
Like construction?
Construction, yeah. After playing soccer, he didn't have the best money management, and now he's got me. So we're good.
They're calling you Dinero Pineiro, and now that you've mentioned that you retired your father, that's something everyone works towards when they set out to accomplish a goal. If you could kind of reflect for a second on how much that meant to you to do that, and how much it means to you to now be 2 doors down, knowing that he's chilling in home.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it means everything to me. That's the goal. That's why I started playing football. That's why I quit soccer. Even though I love soccer, I was the love of my sport, of my life, But I knew that doing this, I can give my parents a better opportunity, to own a home one day, have a car, have a house, and have everything that they should, of what they deserve.
When did that happen? You retired?
Like 2 years ago, when I finally felt like I had enough to pay everything off, and yeah.
What was their reaction?
I mean, they were super happy, of course. They deserve the world, and this is why I do it. I do it for them, and if it's up to me, I'll live under a bridge. I'm okay. As long as they're living good, that's all that matters.
And nice to have them at the game on Sunday.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good. And I haven't seen my parents in almost a month. Seeing my mom was super special to me, and being able to hug her, and it's just the little things. It's that sometimes we take for granted. I can't see them. They're in Miami, and just being able to hug her and hug my dad and just feel them there, just felt really good.
Have they been able to see you at games before?
Yeah, usually yeah. But my dad ended up, unfortunately, he had a heart attack a couple months ago, so he hasn't been able to fly. So yeah, he hasn't been able to come over here, but hopefully the doctor clears him soon, so I can see them. That'd be great.
What did your mom do?
My mom's a stay-home mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do a couple more for Eddy.
How do you like the nickname Dinero Piñeiro, being that people are basically saying you're a certified player?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it if it gets the fans going and it makes them happy. At the end of the day, we're here to entertain and we're here to win and make them proud. So if that makes them happy, that's all that matters.
Eddy, today is the last day of Hispanic Heritage Month.
what is your message to all the Hispanic fans of the 49ers and the NFL in general?
Yeah, just keep fighting if I can do it. Everybody knows that I'm from Nicaragua and Cuban, and just being Hispanic in general. If I have a shot to do it, they can too. And just, I've embraced the whole Hispanic community here and love them very much.
Were they in your minds a little bit more in Tampa knowing that they were there?
Absolutely. Oh, you're talking about my family?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to do really good in front of my mom and dad. I feel like sometimes I'm still a little kid. Like, I want to perform good in front of my mom and dad. Like, I want them to be proud of me, So having them there, I felt a little extra pressure because I'm like, no, I need to do well. Like, they haven't seen me in over a month. I want to do good for my mom. I want to do good for my dad. And yeah, it felt good to have a good performance, even though we lost. But yeah.
How did you think it went the other day?
I feel like as a defense, we could have done better, like communication-wise, and all just being on the same page. But as far as just playing relentless and keeping the standard, I feel like we always running and hitting. We just got to be on the same page on those big plays that we gave up. And yeah.
There's so much of a people in locker room describe this as a gut punch with Frank going out. For you have to go in there and fill in for him.
Yeah.
What was your mindset going in?
Fred, he's the leader of the team, not just the defense. So when he goes down, that's a huge blow to every single one of us. And we all are professionals, and we got to prepare like we're the starters. So I'm just being able to go in and just make sure there's no drop off when Fred comes off the field. And that's my goal right now. And I'm not trying to be like Fred. I'm just make sure I'm Tatum Bethune, and that's what I'm going to do moving forward.
Tatum, everybody talks about what type of leader Fred is. What sort of a teacher has he been for you?
Fred's been everything to me. A teacher, just a brother, just a friend too. Everything, the way he carries himself on and off the field. I just learned a lot from Fred. And I'm rooting for him. He's in good spirits right now, but our goal is to go out there and make him proud on the field and show him that the legacy and the standard that he set for this San Francisco 49ers defense is going to be up there.
Is there something specific that you've taken from him?
Just being poised and confidence in everything you do. That's what you want from a white linebacker, and that's what I'm going to do. I've always been confident. It's just more of a thing of just getting reps and understanding what teams are trying to do and what offenses try to do. So, yeah, I'm getting the hang of that, and it's going to be fun. It's a great challenge for me and you, for both y'all. We obviously ain't see a lot of football in the NFL, but we love to play football. We run and hit, and we're going to have fun.
All right, Faithful, thank you so much for tuning into The Saloon presented by Cisco. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, your favorite podcast platforms, and on SiriusXM. Also, tune into the Sunday Night Football matchup. Niners, Falcons. Kickoff is at 5:20 p.m. Pacific time. That'll do it for today's episode, and go Niners.